Okay, hello to everyone. We're going to let people kind of sign up here. I'll put my glasses on in case we need to. Let's see here. All right. All right. And then let me do some housekeeping here. I think we're on. You are live. Folks, this is a topic that every single day in some capacity I interact with student athletes, with parents. And so I thought what we would do is something unscripted, people I've never spoken with before, maybe engaged, social media. And we have the Healy family and the Nova family. I know the Nova family is from Florida. Healy's, where are you guys from? Jackson, where are you from?
Massachusetts.
Oh, right in my backyard. Whereabouts in Massachusetts?
Pepperell.
No, well, played for the Pepperell Phillies, the Lunenburg Phillies, way back in the day when you probably were not around back then. But we played behind a middle school. There was a baseball field in Pepperell behind a middle school.
Yeah.
That was early 1980s, many, many years ago. So, folks, what we're going to do is, what I really wanted to do was allow parents to gain an understanding into the up-to-date college process. And I do that by asking a series of questions. You know, what I wanted to make everybody aware of is at the Blue Book, we're going to begin to offer two brand new items, and both are going to be available. One is a membership. Membership is going to include all of my courses, which each course has like 10 modules. There's courses in there for the youth athlete, baseball basics. There's the younger athlete that aspires to play at the high school level. There's a course for that. There's a course for the high school athlete that desires to play and become a college caliber student athlete. And then obviously there's a course there for college recruiting, or the college recruiting process. Typically, I sell those courses at like $75 a course. But now with the membership, and we're kicking this off as a package with regard to Blue Book members, all of that is going to be under a monthly membership, which will include all the courses. There'll be special webinars for families and athletes to join me once a month, and we'll do something similar to this. We'll have exclusive content to the college coaches and some of the showcase camp opportunities, which is good to attend, which where I would recommend for particular athletes. And then also we're going to have an evaluation tab in the Blue Book. And the evaluation is going to be where I'm going to take the time to personally evaluate your student athlete. And I'm going to ask and request for a specific video. And then I'm going to write a report that will have the athlete's floor, where they're currently at, and then their ceiling, where they're capable of going, what level that I currently see them at, where they could make some improvements. That evaluation will go on to the Baseball Blue Book profile. So when then college coaches find their way to the profile, if you're sending out your profile to a college coach, they'll see that I've done an evaluation. They'll see my report. More importantly, you'll have access to that report that you'll be able to send along to the college coaches when the time is right to begin your program, your process with regard to recruiting. So I really want to start, Jackson, Danielle, tell me a little bit about you, Jackson, as an athlete. How old are you? What year in school are you? What position do you play?
So I'm currently 16. I turned 17 in February. Obviously, I play baseball, played basketball growing up. Now doing some golf as well. And I've played varsity baseball since I was a freshman.
Okay, and do you go to North Middlesex?
I live in Pepperell, but I go to school in Acton, Boxborough.
Okay, Acton, oh, that's a little bit of a hike. Okay, so you're down Route 2 or somewhere down there. And what position do you play?
So I play all over the place. When I was a freshman, I played second. Last year, I played some third, and now this year, I'm probably gonna play second or short.
Okay, what year are you in school?
Junior.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about your metrics. Do you have foot speed? What's one of the stronger attributes that you have that you think would make you enticing to a college coach?
I say my power for my size is pretty good.
Okay, right-handed hitter or left-handed hitter?
Right-handed.
And do you have an area of academic interest or anything that excites you with regard to college?
Yep. So I think my main thing I'm looking at right now is civil engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how about geographics before I go down the engineering scale? Is there a warmer climate, or are you a WPI guy, or what are you looking at when it comes to engineering?
So WPI is definitely on my list. But I would also love to be down south in warmer weather because I hate looking outside and being snow all over the place. So
Okay. And did you take any test scores this past fall?
so I've taken a PSAT and then I have 2 SATs in the spring.
Okay. And do you any other position other than the middle of the diamond? Do you have good foot speed?
I'd say so. I mean, that's what I'm working on right now. So
okay. And at Acton Boxborough, which is a top level program here in Massachusetts, New England, where do you hit in the order?
So last year I was around 5, 6.
Okay, so that tells me you have a little bit of power and a little bit of foot speed.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. Now let's go to the Nova family. You guys are down in a warmer climate than we are up here in Massachusetts. Tell us a little bit about. I know we have a left-hand pitcher. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell us a little bit about what year are you in school? Senior?
Yes, sir. I'm a 2025 grad.
Okay. And how old will you be when you graduate?
17.
Oh, you'll be 17 when you graduate.
Yes.
Okay. And have you been recruited by any schools as of today?
No, sir.
Okay. And tell us a little bit as a left-handed pitch. First of all, any type of academic area of interest or?
Currently I have not found any, but I was thinking about going to school maybe for business just to start there. It'll probably change as I go through school.
Okay. And do you have a geographic preference?
Oh yeah, stay south in the warm area because it gives me more time to practice, which I'm kind of blessed to be in Florida because I have more practicing time because it's a lot warmer here. There's
Well,
no snow days, none of that.
I think Jackson and I would concur with that, having grown up in Fitchburg, and he's in Pepperell. And I can tell you that it's a tad bit on the chilly side in March and April here. So being in Tampa definitely gives you a leg up. Can you tell us a little bit about you as a pitcher? Just share with me. Are you a velocity guy? Are you a crafty lefty? What are some of the?
Me as a pitcher, I feel like I'm more of a location type of person. I have movement on my pitches. I'm not that hard of a velocity. Um, I've topped out at 81. But I have pitches. I have a fastball, I have a changeup, I have a curveball, and they're they have movement. So I feel like I'm a location type of guy.
Okay. And if you had if you were able to pick what type of schools do you feel like that you desire to participate or play at?
Um, I thought about HCC. I kind of wanted to take a JUCO route and then get my 2 years and then try and see if any other bigger college would want to take me from there. But I've also looked at USF. It's those two schools really mainly. And
Okay.
St. Leo also. St. Leo was also a pretty
Yep, Division two,
option.
NCAA Division two. And Jackson, if you, other than a WPI, are there other schools, like for instance, I mean, I could rattle off a bunch of engineering schools, but are there any schools that you have a particular interest in or a dream or desire to attend?
Yep. So I've I think like 30, 25 in my list. I guess they range a lower. So I know UML is definitely on my list. That's local. But if I was going somewhere far away, I know there's a few schools. I know like Quinnipiac is a place I'd also want to go. Let's see. Maybe like Stevens Institute of Tech, I think, is on my list. There's a few schools. But.
So UMass Lowell, for everybody out there that doesn't know, UML, Division I school here in New England, which is close proximity to Pepperell. Okay, so you both have mentioned some schools. One is a left-handed pitcher. and one is a position player. If you had to pick, Jackson, what would you say your position would be at the collegiate level?
I'd say second base.
Second base. Okay. So, have you had anyone within your high school? Do you play, Jackson? I'll start with you. Do you play summer baseball? If so, what level?
So up until this year, I've played AAU. So I think when I was 13, that's when it switched like the summer schedule. And then this year, I'm getting into Legion ball.
Okay, so you're playing Legion.
Yep. Oh yeah, this year. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I had a question about that, Coach. So he, because he goes to school different where he lives,
Right.
so it's very confusing to figure out which post he belonged to. So luckily, the coach at Hudson Mass was open and was helpful to explain, but not all teams were as clear cut about how they take kids, and because Acton Boxborough is a big school, they said that plays a part in how they take kids, and it's very confusing. So any insight you have on Legion ball? He has been practicing with the Hudson team and they've been great, but
does Hudson have the Acton Boxborough school within their territory?
They sure do. Yeah.
Okay. Your local Legion program would probably be Leominster or Gardner, probably Gardner if you were going by your residence. But American Legion baseball, for those that may not be familiar, that is every post has the ability to undertake up to 4 schools. It's a student body population that is how it gets configured. And so if Hudson is basically saying they're going to claim Jackson because of he's a student at Acton Boxborough, they would have to waive, and then everybody in between Hudson and Gardner or Leominster, I believe you would be a Gardner post, would have to waive the rights to Jackson, which you would think that would be an automatic checkoff from a geographical logistical standpoint. But one of the other factors is the level of competition at Hudson. And I guess you could say I played at Gardner Legion, so Gardner and Leominster are probably equal to ability-wise. But it sounds as if Hudson is going to stake a claim to Jackson. So somehow you'd have to make that work. I really wouldn't get too lost in all of that. I don't know when or if Jackson will be able to drive. Probably not going to have a lot of teammates living in the greater Pepperell area that get rides to and from practice with. But I really, that's a topic we're going to discuss here tonight, the Legion aspect. I think you're going to find that's going to be a tremendous experience with regard to, if you're looking to be a local, New England area type of student athlete. Shrewsbury, Leominster, it's Legion in our neck of the woods is really strong. And so when we start now as a junior, you're going into your rising senior summer. So what you want to begin to do now is truly begin to line up your schools that fit academically. Start to find, especially with regard to the WPIs, they're going to be more expensive than the UMass Lowell. So you kind of want to start to begin to understand, where do my academics bring me with regard to academic money? Where are my opportunities going to be with regard to the sport? Meaning Division I baseball, especially in the greater Northeast, is limited. You don't have as many schools as, say, Florida or down south with regard to the Division II landscape. You have a lot of Division IIIs and you have a handful of Division Is. If you're going to be a middle infielder, you're going to want to make sure that there's a foot speed measurement that's being looked into. You're also going to want to look into physicality. What's the strength metric today? Is it a projectable college division caliber player? And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But your summer baseball, especially this summer, strongly suggests the Legion dynamic. It's going to afford you with more playing opportunity, also to have a more daily routine with regard to strength training, preparation for the college, time management that you're going to need to play at the collegiate level, whether it's NCAA Division III or Division I. JUCO would probably not be a recommendation for you because with regard to engineering, there's a lot of tremendous Division III programs. There's a lot of great Division II programs throughout the Northeast Conference. And obviously, as you alluded to, UMass Lowell has a great, engineering program. And obviously, that's in your backyard. So you'd really want to begin to get your evaluation, have a good idea athletically where Jackson fits, and then begin to plug in the academics from the financial aid perspective. And when you're starting to do, the state school versus the private school, you're going to find the cost factor. The baseball money isn't as plentiful at the Division I schools from a position player perspective. They go a lot, they're heavier on the arms, trying to get the out-of-state arms. And the position players generally filter in, whether it's through the portal or the lower levels, meaning there are guys, I talked to Babson this week, I talked to Nichols this week, I talked to Endicott. Those schools send a lot of players as they get into their upperclassmen year onto Division I because they're physically mature and they have a resume. So, but Legion, I would say, A, you're in a great program at Hudson. B, you obviously want to make sure for Jackson's summer that he's playing and being an active participant. So, if Hudson is, really aware of who Jackson is, that's going to bode well for playing time opportunity. If he's been a starter since his freshman year, that would signal that your high school coach is going to play a significant role with regard to your recruiting. So I would begin to, have you had discussions, Jackson, with your high school coach about your recruiting process?
Yeah, I have. So I talked to him at the end of last school year, and a lot of what he was saying was like, it's hard for him as his job because he's only seen me as a sophomore. So it's hard putting like a sophomore up compared to like the college level.
Right.
But I know he wanted to talk to me this year and leading up to this year as we start getting into March. So
if you had to guess, one last question, Jackson, if you had to guess on an ACT or an SAT, what would your ballpark that you think you would score in that type of test?
I'd say at least a 1350.
Okay. And would you say that would be a better than 65, 75% chance that you would score 1300 or above?
Yeah.
Okay. So hold that thought. Now, Mr. Nova, what type of student are you?
I have a 3.6 weighted GPA, 3.0 GPA. I'm already done with my math credits. Um, I guess I have English 4, and then I got a science credit that since I did take bio twice. I passed both times, but I just didn't realize I took the same class twice. So
And what is your current weight? As a left-handed pitcher, that really doesn't come into play that much, but what is your current weight?
I am 150 and 5'7", 5'8".
Okay. So what we're going to do is when I go through this process with parents, especially with the student athletes that are going to graduate young, I always want you to be fully aware of where you are. Now, you're in a very fertile college baseball landscape, particularly with regard to Division I and Division II baseball, and obviously JUCOs. And so currently where you are, you would be considered a lighter, underweight student athlete, from a physicality perspective. Your velocity metrics would be, probably in the lower percentile. And so in your age. And so if you have a true desire to really play at the college level, one of the things that you should begin to take a strong look at, and I encourage parents, and this is a topic that really we need to spend a few minutes on. And Jackson, I'm going to run this up your flagpole as well. The need now for families more than ever is to begin to understand what is above you is a lot higher reach than it's ever been in any time period before. It is not the same process that it used to be. It used to be you'd go from high school and then you'd find the fit. And so we're going to talk about fit and why that is important. College baseball now is, there's so much inventory. And when I say inventory, there are so many student athletes that are 20 to 23 that are still sophomores in college. And so in another 4 months, we're going to find out the NCAA may go to 5 years of eligibility. And that's going to negatively impact high school athletes, because now you're going to be competing against not your peer group upon graduation or the other seniors from across the country. You're going to be competing against athletes that have been given that additional year. They're older, they're stronger, their skill sets may be a little bit more advanced. So as parents and student athletes, you really need to look at the gap year / postgraduate year / extra year of physical maturation. As a 17-year-old, you're really running into a brick wall. You're undersized. You're in a really baseball hotbed. There's going to be a lot of athletes competing for those roster spots. And as parents, we need to really begin to look, what is the accurate number? Now, Jackson, if I asked you, how many athletes do you think are going to be recruited this coming spring for roster spots for this coming fall? If you had to guess, how many numbers, what's the number of athletes that are going to be recruited? How many vacancies will there be across all of college baseball, not just Division I?
I'm going to say 400.
All right, well, you'd be off by probably times 10, but you can say on any given year, there's a ballpark number of between 5,000 and 10,000 that are roster spots. And that's if we take NCAA, approximately 35,000 athletes, JUCO and NAIA, let's just call it another 20 to 25,000. And so if you divide that number by 5, right, if we go to 5 years of eligibility at the NCAA, you're going to find that there's less and less room. So there are less and less roster spots. And now, more than ever, college coaches are only concerned with, how can you as a student athlete impact my team? So as a left-handed pitcher, good news, there's not a lot of those out there. So coaches are going to hang on to you a lot longer and give you a longer look because they want left-handed pitching. But the bad news is, you're underage, meaning as a 17-year-old high school graduate, they're really looking for you to be 18 or 19 to enter your freshman year of college. The vast majority of high school graduates are 19 now, as opposed to 18 in years past. So that's one. The other thing is, Jackson, in your case, if you're a student athlete and you're a 1350, let's just use that test score, you have a lot of opportunity, especially with regard to the school system that you're in, to begin to explore the postgraduate world, the Winchentons, the Phillips Exeters, because if you're an academic and you have a good academic transcript / profile, that is going to open up doors for you over and above the baseball field. It's going to open up doors to schools that may be a reach out of Acton-Boxborough. For instance, if you were a 1350 out of Acton-Boxborough and you did a post-grad year, you may end up being able to get into a good engineering school at a Patriot League, schools that might have been a slight reach for you academically, but athletically with your postgraduate transcript would get you in. I had that work this year for a student athlete at Babson. But both of you, as high school athletes, should begin to look into the value proposition that gap year offers you. Physical maturity, you can take college caliber credits or college hours. If you are a high school graduate and you want to take college hours that are basic math, language, English, etc. And then you can be working out weight room, skill set development. I know a lot of pitchers that do that throughout the Southeast. They gain 10 to 15 pounds. They go from that 80 to 81 threshold into that lower mid 80s, 83, 85 window. And then you're upping your value. And then you could roll into a Chipola or a JUCO down in Florida. But it will be very, very tough to get into a college varsity program. You may be able to do a developmental program. Are either of you aware of the developmental / JV type programs at college?
I've heard of them. I heard of it from you. I know a guy in UT that he was a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's becoming much more prevalent at the Division II and the Division III level, where you're having developmental teams, because obviously schools, university and colleges generate income through applications and admissions. And so if you have a roster on your varsity of 35 and a sub-varsity or developmental program of 27 to 35, you're doubling the total number of athletes within your program. But I will tell you that both of you fit. And I get a lot of parents that begin to think of it as a negative, and it's anything but. And I want both of you to know the value that is associated with a postgraduate year or gap year is for your life, not just for baseball. You know, a lot of people think we're delaying the inevitable. But for instance, Jackson, I'll just throw it out there, a school like a Cornell, not saying you're going to Cornell, but if you suddenly, you know, what would you say your strongest physical attribute, not baseball skill set, but physical attribute is? What do you, foot speed, arm strength, what would you say your strongest physical attribute is right now?
Like not considering, like not like weight room, like.
Yeah, like something from a baseball metric, foot speed, arm strength.
I guess probably foot speed. I guess is better than my arm strength. So.
Okay, so the biggest thing is as you leave high school, right, your body begins this widening or filling out phase. And that extra year allows you to kind of be more compatible and comparable to the current student athlete at the collegiate level. So what this really boils down to is how much work are you willing to do as a student athlete to prepare yourself so that when your feet hit campus, you're actually on par with all of the other athletes that are already ahead of you, meaning they're either, you know, sophomores or upperclassmen, and you have to compete with them not only for playing time, but for a roster spot. And so, you know, the biggest thing to understand is the narrative that used to be, and I see a question here that came in with regard to rankings. Rankings they're like World War II history. They're yesterday's news. They're fun to look at, but there's nothing applicable for World War II into today's world. It's a different world. It's a different environment. And so if we're looking at college recruiting as an individual, meaning for, you know, the Healy's and the Nova families, we have to say, okay, Jackson, this is your geographic, academic, and athletic profile. And based on the information that you've given me, our next step in our process is to create a plan. And the plan is for you to take the action steps, meaning, you know, whether you've had has anybody ever done a movement screen on you, Jackson, like a physical movement screen?
No.
Okay. Mr. Nova, have you ever had a movement screen?
I don't think so.
Okay, a movement screen would be an evaluation from a PT, a physical therapist, a trainer, certified trainer. Has anybody ever said you have a deficiency with regard to internal, external rotation, you know, like elbows, hips, things like that? Have you guys ever been, you know, evaluated in that capacity?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't even. I got one. We're actually setting it up right now. So. That's
okay.
Good.
Who is that going to be with?
So my old AU coach, Gary Dona, he's a physical therapist. So either him or one of his coworkers is going to do that.
And what would be the facility that you would work out at?
It's called Whole Health Solutions.
Okay. Okay.
New.
And do you have any type of caloric intake supplements? Do you do anything like that?
I take creatine. I'm not tracking my calories, I guess.
Okay. Mr. Nova, do you track calories at all?
I have not. I try and eat as much as possible. I eat breakfast at school, lunch. I eat after school, and then I'm about to eat again dinner after this.
All right. So now let's get into the no pun intended meat and potatoes. So there's essentially there are for every athlete that will play college baseball as a freshman, you are competing with 10 other high school graduates. And so if you begin to look at the numbers, and that's using, if there's 400,000 approximate high school baseball players across the country, and we just divide that by 4 freshmen through senior year, and there's 100,000 seniors, we'll just say 1 in 10 of those are going to go on to play college baseball. But in today's world, there is no direct line or path from high school to college because of the portal, because of junior college, because of postgraduates, and then the high school athlete. And that is literally the hierarchy that college coaches recruit to. And so you both have to understand that in the college recruiting process, you are number 4, whereas the portal guy is going to be first, the JUCO graduate is going to be second. The guy that did the gap year, the post-grad year, it's a little bit older, a little bit bigger, a little bit more skilled, and then comes the high school athlete. And then the average age of a college freshman is 19 turning 20. So that's where you want to start. Where do you fit within that high school graduate? Where do my skill sets fit? And then from there, you want to begin to chart your course. Now, Mr. Nova, do you play travel baseball? You might be. I think he's at the facility. Now, with regard to Legion, does your Acton Boxborough coach, does he take an active role with regard to your recruiting, Jackson?
So I couldn't give you a good answer. I know he used to coach and then he came back a few years ago. So I think I think a lot of the stuff is new versus how it was, like 10 years ago or so. So I think like some of the platforms that I use, like Field Level, like he's never heard of that before. But he is active on Twitter and he does tag people on some of his posts. So
okay, so let's get into this discussion because a lot of parents ask me, and I want to go through the specific companies or organizations that do this. The number one thing is you want to know, like you as a athlete want to know where you fit. So what you want to do is you want to know, okay, if you had to evaluate my skills as a college player, not as a high school junior, but as a college player today, where would I grade out? Would I grade out as a fringe player? Would I grade out as a definite roster type of player? How would I grade out? And then the next question you want to ask is, what can I do or what should I be doing for the next 16 months to be fully prepared to be recruited as a college student athlete? And I think this is the magical gray area that the vast majority of parents and athletes struggle with because they don't know, am I a college caliber player? What about this guy got recruited and my son's better than that guy, but they're recruiting him. They should be recruiting my son. It doesn't work that way. And so, number one, Jackson, you have to be your own biggest advocate. You have to be proactive. You can't be reactive. And so when I'm working with parents, we talk about, okay, we get our evaluation, we get our game plan. Your sole focus is to execute your plan. And then we want to be proactive. We want to knock on doors. And what we want to get is we want to get the no's, the maybes, and the yes, I'm interested. Because it saves us time at this time next year, meaning when you're going to be making your decisions, for your graduation, like what is my plan? What is my the number one thing to understand is being proactive and balancing patient, meaning you don't want to jump at the first opportunity. We don't need to make snap decisions. This isn't a magic wand that I'm going to make you an offer and I'm going to take it away within 48 hours. You want to know before you put yourself in the process. Let's say I call Coach Casey at WPI and I say, I talked to Jackson Healy. He's at Acton Boxborough, 1350 SAT, really good infielder, has strong interest in WPI. Well, if you say that and you really begin to knock on his door and he says to you, Jackson, we want you, we're going to did our pre-read, academic money is going to be this, merit money is going to be this. What do you think? Well, if you've checked off that WPI box ahead of time, and that's a school that, fits everything within your criteria as far as academics, logistics, and athletics, you want to be prepared for when that opportunity comes. Yes, that's a definite yes. Or, you know what, coach, I'm still doing my due diligence, but you don't want to pursue schools until you're ready to be pursued. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The last thing a college coach wants to hear is, okay, coach, I'll get back to you, because then he knows you're going to shop okay, I got into WPI, and coaches don't want to be the ugly stepsister at the ball. They want to know, okay, you've done your homework. We fit what you're looking for. We have room on our roster. We're extending to you a roster spot. So you want to really take your time, be patient, make sure schools check off all your boxes. You want to go watch these schools play. So in your case, you can go to UMass Lowell. You can go watch a WPI, particularly when WPI may be playing in your neck of the woods, whether it's, Acton Boxborough. There's a few schools in your geographical area. I know they play Endicott. I know they play a few other schools locally, Nichols, Babson, so they're not too terribly far away. But if you go and watch and you get an idea of how the coaching staff handles the squad, you can ask the players. When you're doing your search, it's okay to interact with student athletes that are currently there, whether it be at a practice or at a game. But if you're prepared with your questions and you're doing your homework, you'll find that when the time comes and you're looking to be actively recruited, the better prepared you are, the better you'll be with regard to being able to make that decision during your senior year. Also, begin to add into your mix the post-grad schools in your geographical area, whether that be a Winchendon, an Exeter, an Andover, those types of schools, St. Paul's, Tabor, those types of schools. Let's see, is what coaches think at the end of the day. So from Jackson, from your perspective, you have a specific area of academic interest. You're in a geographical area where academically it's a densely populated, high level of academic schools in our particular part of the country here in the Northeast. You don't want to chase, you want to choose. And so what you want to try to choose is the best academic athletic options for you. Now, bear in mind, middle infield, they're a dime a dozen. Every coach is going to look at the arms, the bats, the big middle of the order bats. So that's generally the corner positions, the foot speed in center field, the foot speed and arm strength at short, and then they're going to fill in that roster. So you sounds like you have some versatility. If you had to say to me today, is there a dream school that you would be interested in pursuing?
I don't think yet. I know WPI is a school I'm definitely interested in. And then my dad, he works for UML. So I've always thought of UML as a good option for me as well. But I wouldn't say there's one dream school. I'm kind of weighing out my options, I guess.
Okay, so that's the other part of this equation. So therefore, if we were talking affordability, which I think, a lot of coaches now, when they say best fit, all of the other topics that we've already gone through, we very rarely talk about affordability. But now in your case, if your dad is working at UMass Lowell, there's going to be some financial incentive for you to go to that school. And so that has to be exhausted. You want to go through and talk to Coach Barisi. You want to talk to these coaches and really make sure you figure out, okay, do I fit in any way, shape, or form that program athletically? Obviously, academically, you're going to check off a lot of academic money there, but athletically, you want to figure out, okay, where do I fall within the margin of error? Meaning, is my foot speed, is my arm strength, where is my bat? Does it project? Because let's say UMass Lowell said to you, Jackson, you just need that extra year to grow a little bit, get a little bit faster, et cetera. That's where the extra year of postgrad, because now you're going to be going to school in an affordable opportunity. You're going to go to a school that's geographically desirable, obviously. And most importantly, you're getting the opportunity to play at a very, very high level. And so sometimes being able to take a step back and gather your information and understand, okay, where am I at today in the eyes of this coaching staff? Is there a possibility, if I did a post-grad year and if I got my physical strengths up to speed, do I have an opportunity to play at UMass Lowell in the spring of 2027? So you have to understand, when a college coach is looking at you guys, he's looking at, how is this athlete going to help me if you're at 2026 in the spring of 27, or if you did a post-grad year in the spring of 28. Now, you also have to look at your particular case. You're in engineering, there's graduate school that could be in your future. And at an NCAA school such as UMass Lowell, now you're starting to take on that fifth year. And so you're going to have that ability to have a graduate degree within UMass Lowell. So there's a lot of variables that you have to really begin to write down and understand the pluses and the minuses for your specific individual process. And so now, with regard to JUCO, Mr. Nova, is there a school that you feel that you would be able to participate in out of high school? Has your high school coach given you any indication that he thinks you could participate at a JUCO out of high school?
No. He also is he's like our new head coach right now. Like, we just got a new head coach, so he barely knows the players. He's just getting to know the players right now. So currently, no. Based off what he's seen, no, I don't think so.
So here's what I want you both to really understand. College recruiting is not about where you want to go. It's where you're wanted. And as Mr. Golden has stated here in our chat, when college coaches are saying to families, you want to find the right fit, that fit is when there is a college coach saying, we want you. And they say it in a number of different ways. They'll say things like, we have spots available. We feel that your ability levels fit our program. We really would like you to consider us with regard to your baseball college opportunities. They're trying to see if you've done your homework on their school, if you've done your homework on their program. Are you a me guy or a we guy? In other words, when they ask you, what type of a school are you looking for? They want to know that you've taken the time before you talk with that coaching staff. You know the coaching staff's names. You know the conference that they play in. You know the name of their field. You know where they play. And so, for instance, if you were to go and you were to talk to a JUCO coach, a lot of athletes are very dismissive. They think, I'm better than this, or I think I can play at that. College baseball now, with the exception of the Power 4 program, is very, very level playing field. There's no such thing as a mid-major. There's no such thing as a lower level. And I want to make sure you both understand that. Now, Jackson, you'll know the names of these schools. Danielle, obviously, you'll know the names of these schools. When I used to say Babson, or if I said Nichols or Endicott or Salve Regina, parents would be, oh, but my son really wants to play Division I baseball. Well, last year, each of those 4 schools sent student athletes through the transfer portal to schools like Boston College, Duke, Richmond. They're going to these higher level athletic / academic schools because they have a resume. They've proven that they have time management skills. They've proven that they have athletic disciplines, daily routines. And so therefore they've earned that opportunity. So no longer is it about, I go here and I stay here. I prefer that myself personally, but I also know that with regard to engineering, if you had the ability to get a graduate degree after completing 4 years at whether it's UMass Lowell or WPI, or you went to WPI and UMass Lowell offered you a graduate degree, from an academic perspective, transferring makes sense. But you really want this college process to be about balance, and you want it to be about part of something bigger than you, meaning that coaching staff gets to know you for 4 or 5 years, the student body and faculty get to know you for 4 or 5 years. So rather than looking at this process as a transactional experience, you want it to be a transitional experience. And so when I say that, Jackson, you might think like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Well, I want you to understand that back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, when I left high school, that transition from being an 18-year-old wise senior in high school into the real world of being a 20-year-old adult with having to pay rent and car payments and get a job and all this stuff that I didn't get to do by not going to college. It's a transition period in your life that is critical. It plays a massive role in your future. Now, you can't see that at Acton Boxborough or down in Tampa, but college is about transitioning from being an older child to a young adult. And the decisions that you make have consequences, and they have a bearing on the direction that your life takes. Meaning, as a engineer, and all of a sudden you decide to go to a school like Union or RPI, up in New York, you go to RPI. You could meet a upperclassman, and she ends up becoming your wife, and suddenly you relocate to New York, much to the dismay of mom and dad, and your life is forever altered. But my point is college is more than just the baseball team and the middle infield. It's about, okay, this is a part of the country I feel comfortable in. This is a campus that I'm going to enjoy being an active participant at and within. And then the next thing is the degree is going to help me with regard to my future, providing for my future family, and so forth. And so when you're going through this process, does it check off? Does it feel right? Does this campus feel right? The other part of this is when you're being interviewed by the coach. Now, both of you are going to be interviewed by coaches. They're going to wait for you to begin to interview them. So here's my other big bullet point for you guys both. You guys call it flipping the script. What you want to do is, how do I separate myself from all the other middle infielders or all the other left-handed pitchers that these coaches are going to talk to? And the best thing that you can do is take out your little notebook with all of your prepared questions and start to interview the coaches. Coach, if I came to this university, what type of opportunities would I have within the first 2 years as an underclassman to be a participant within the program, but B, what are some of the things that I can do to help my case to become an active participant on your roster? The next thing you want to do is, what does the summer look like within your program? Am I going to be sent out to play summer baseball? Do I handle that? Do you as a coaching staff try to find me spots? Should I be on campus taking classes during the summer and in the weight room under the tutelage and guidance of the strength trainers here at the school? In other words, you're the customer, and you have to take control. And coaches like to know that student athletes are not on the defensive, but they're more engaged and accountable for their decisions that are going to affect their life. So don't put everything into the lap of the college coach.
Hmm.
Don't wait for the college coach to say, hey, Jackson, we have a need and you fit our need. You want to say, how can I make myself more attractive to you as a student athlete? Is it my foot speed? Is it my arm strength? Mr. Nova, is it my velocity? Is it my changeup? Do I need to have a better pickoff move? If you take the process and you put it into the guy driving the bus, not mom, not dad. Sometimes a college coach is going to ask you a very difficult question and you're not going to have the answer. And he's going to look to see if you look to mom or dad for help. Whereas if you just focus right in on the coach and you say, coach, I hadn't given that much thought, but that's a great question. And I want to prepare and kind of do some homework on that question. And I'm going to get back to you with my answer. See, now what you've done is you're going to take ownership of that question. You're not giving him just a random answer that you're pulling out of the sky. You're going to give it some thought. You're going to make a detailed effort to correspond and get him the answer to that question of your own accountability, of your own actions. You're not helping. Mom's not going to step in and answer. Dad's not going to step in and answer. So these are the things that are going to separate you in the eyes of college coaches. And the number one takeaway that I want you to understand is everyone's process is different. There is no such thing as they recruited 4 infielders, therefore you're not going to want to recruit me. They have a need for pitching. I'm a good pitcher, therefore they're going to have a need for me. That's not how this works. And when you're on social media and you mentioned a few different things, if you as a student athlete take more control of your process, don't let mom or dad fill out the questionnaire. Don't let mom or dad fill out the email or send the email and type it out and send it. Be more professional, be more personable, be more direct and candid and say, coach, I know that several others within my peer group and graduating class have the same desires to attend a school such as UMass Lowell, such as University of Tampa, what have you. Here's why I think I have the ability to not only be an active participant on your roster, but to play a large role within the student body at WPI, UMass Lowell, University of Tampa. Talk about the collective as opposed to the individual, making sure you're more about, coach, this is how I feel that I can help UMass Lowell win more ball games. This is how I feel I can help WPI with regard to not only my skill sets, but my preparation, my work ethic. So if you're taking a more collective approach, you're going to separate yourself, and those coaches are going to spend more time looking at you during the summer or during the spring season. Ask coaches how that you can get in front of them. Like if you know you have 5 schools that you want to be recruited by, here's my schedule, here's my coach's contact information, here's my personal email, these are my social media handles. I'll update you if we have any rainouts. Like now you're showing like attention to detail. Most families and most athletes rely on somebody picking you out of a hat, whether it's an app where you put your name or your profile in there, or you think like your high school coach is going to take the lead, or your travel ball coach or your Legion coach. Don't leave this in anyone else's hands other than your coach. Does that make sense, Jackson?
Yep.
What would you say is your biggest question or concern? I'm going to ask both you and Mr. Nova here. What would you say, Adonis, what would you say is the biggest question you have from a college recruiting perspective? What would you want to have answered?
What do you see I can improve on, and what made you choose me?
Okay, I'm going to tell you why I chose both of you. First of all, you're a left-handed pitcher, so let's start there. You're very, very young, and you don't have to worry about other people's expectations of you. The only expectations that you have to concern yourself with are those that you have of yourself. Don't worry about other people go the conventional path. They don't ask you how you got there. They just ask you if you got there. And so as a young high school graduate, you have to understand that in 3 years, by just Mother Nature and the big guy upstairs, your body is going to look a lot different. Your facial hair, your shoulders, your body, your maturation is going to look a lot different. Make sure that you're spending time, nutrition, strength, skill in school. Make sure you're really spending time to be better at each of those facets every single day. And if you had to do a gap year, meaning you had to go a year with taking an online class without going into a conventional classroom, it's okay. You're not getting passed by. You're not going to be left outside looking in. You have to understand, as a left-handed pitcher, you are highly sought after. You don't have to throw hard. Don't chase velocity. Don't chase numbers. Instead, choose a path that makes you physically stronger, better skill-wise, and better prepared to be a college caliber athlete, meaning time management, discipline on your daily routine with caloric intake, strength training, long toss. Get yourself ready. Take the extra year to collect yourself and create a plan and get into the colleges that are in your geographical area. There's so many JUCOs in Florida. Don't worry about Division I, Division II, Division III. Just get into college baseball, become an active participant, and then find your way based on your skill at the college level. Jackson, you're in my backyard. You're in the Northeast. Most guys in the Northeast, and I was one of them. And, you know, you're going to find, and I want parents to hear me loud and clear. In this world of social media, we see all these great thumbnails and all of these descriptions and, you know, Division I, what it takes to be a Division I athlete, and, you know, travel ball is at the death of me. And you get all these, you know, people trying to tell you it is a tremendously difficult road to become a college athlete. It is not a rite of graduation for you to go from high school to college. What it is it's an earned opportunity. Most athletes are sitting back on their heels and waiting to be tapped on the shoulder. Whereas for somebody like yourself, you have 3 things that are highly desirable. One, if you got anywhere near 1350, you're going to get a lot of academic money, which in today's world is a much bigger deal. Chase the academic money. 2, the best path that you could ever take out of a school like Acton and Boxborough, and I say this to you because you have the academic acumen to do this, is to enter the world of the post-grad school. It will alter your life well beyond baseball, but baseball will get you into those schools. People on a global basis try to get into the NEPSAC schools. They try to get into the ISL schools. You have the ability to get into those schools, and they can alter your future. Like, they can truly alter your life path. And so I would give strong consideration, based on the way the world is shaking out, with regard to the settlement, the extra years of eligibility. I would really encourage you to take a very, very long look at the opportunity that those postgraduate schools present. The other part of this is be more proactive with regard to your nutrition and your strength. Make that a priority. Begin to ask those people that you trust within your area, what can I do to get faster? What can I do to get stronger? What can I do to add explosive strength? You're a middle infielder. So as a second baseman, you have to understand that a lot of transactions, as far as double plays, cutoffs, you have to have that arm strength. You have to have that baseball IQ. So prepare your daily routines to mirror what it would be like at the college level. And so as you begin to wrap up your junior year in high school and enter into that senior year in high school, start to really begin to apply a day in the life of a college student athlete. What does it look like? And begin to mirror that during your senior year. And that can mean what time you get up in the morning. That can mean what time you're lifting. In other words, in college, especially if you're going to be an engineering student, and I talk about this a lot. I have a young man that's going into the Air Force, and he's going into engineering. You have to understand you have you have 4 full-time jobs at a school like that. But for you in college, you have 3 full-time jobs, and each of these full-time jobs will require 40 to 50 hours. Okay, and if we take 24, we got 158 hours in a week. You can do the math, but you're going to be academic 40 to 50 hours, athletic 40 to 50 hours, and sleep. Those are your 3 full-time jobs. So as a senior in high school, don't get complacent. Don't think like, okay, I'm just going to cruise back. I'm going to enjoy my senior year. Begin to prepare, because the sooner you prepare your body, your mindset, and you have that routine, you begin to assimilate. And so that when you do enter college, it's just a different location. That's the only thing that changes in your day-to-day life. Have you ever considered a postgraduate year?
I don't think I really thought about it much. I think we might have talked about it over the summer a little bit,
Yeah.
going to like a school like Winchendon, because one of my teammates goes there, or starting this year. But I don't think that was one of like the main thoughts when I was like thinking about my next step, I guess.
And so as parents, Danielle, have you ever even thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've thought about the opportunities that those types of schools could bring. I wasn't sure if it was more important or to do it for his 4 years of high school, or to consider it an extra year. I mean, he does really well in school, so I never really thought about another year. But when you talk about, physicality and just how these college players are grown men, I think that makes a difference too. So it's something to think about.
I think it's important for parents to understand. So, Jackson, do you remember being a freshman in high school at Acton Boxborough?
I do, yep.
Okay. Do you remember what it felt like? You looked at the seniors and you looked around the weight rooms and, wow, it's a different world, right? And now as an upperclassman, you might look at freshmen at Acton Boxborough and okay, that was me. But when you go to college, huge difference between freshman in high school, senior in high school, to 24-year-old. Now, you guys know Southern New Hampshire University, right? You both know where that is, Manchester, New Hampshire. Their middle infielders this year at a Division II school are 24 years old. And they're both juniors. So I want you to think about, if you were a high school graduate at 18 and you roll out to second base, and the second baseman and the shortstop are juniors and they're 24 years old. What's going through your mind? So my point to us as parents, we are so pre-programmed with what our college experience was like, what other people 5 years ago was like. But in today's world, it is so very, very different. And it's not just NCAA Division I. So, Danielle, what's a question that you or your husband may have as it pertains to Jackson in the college baseball world?
So I think he does a really good job at, he works hard. He's a good teammate. He does a lot of things that are maybe not on paper. Like he can give his metrics or send videos of him playing and all those things. But I think like who he is as a person is really valuable. He's a good teammate, all those things. How does he market that? And I guess he's set out casted this wide net of emails and places with not a lot of like response yet. So I guess how to get the responses, how to be able to get the conversations. I feel like once people get talking to him and get to know him, that might be helpful for him.
Okay, so this is the $1 million question, and I'm really glad. Now, I want parents to understand, if you find your way to the video, you're watching live, Danielle, Jackson, the Nova family, we've never chatted before. This is first time we've ever interacted on this topic. And so this is probably the number one question that I get. You know, I send out all these emails, nobody ever responds. How do we market ourselves? How are we supposed to know who's interested? So here's the deal. You're already halfway home with regard to, you know, your academic area of interest. Most do not. If you as parents, or more importantly, if your student athlete does not have any idea as far as what they would like to pursue, most athletes will say business. Most athletes will say, I don't really know. There's a lot of ambiguous kind of, you're just kind of floating. You don't want to float, and you do not want to be reacting to what might happen. What you want to do is begin to choose, at least in small steps. Okay, let's get to the geographics. Where do you want to go to school? Okay, that's going to help us a great deal. Begin to, okay, if geographics, I had somebody from Texas last evening. I don't want to go outside of Texas or Louisiana. Okay, that's your criteria. We got to work with that. So as a parent and a student athlete, you want to kind of understand your geographical profile. Next, if we have an idea of the schools that you may or may not be interested in academically, could be campus size. You might not want to go to a, you know, for instance, like a BU or a Northeastern, you're right in the downtown Boston. Whereas if I go to Endicott or a school like that, or WPI, you're in Worcester. Endicott, you're in Beverly on the ocean. Begin to understand what each school offers as far as campus size and so forth. Once you begin to identify geographics, academics, now you want to begin to interact directly with college coaches. You don't want there to be a gray area. You want to reach out to a specific school, to a specific staff member, and you want to be able to say, Coach Casey, my name is Jackson Healy. I'm currently a student athlete at Acton Boxborough. I'll be playing summer baseball at Hudson Legion under Coach X. I have a strong interest in your profile, in your program. I look to attend one of your upcoming camps. If you could identify which camp is a prospect camp, I would be grateful for that opportunity to come in and participate in your prospect camp in the fall of 2025. In other words, be more direct, be more proactive. Make sure the coaches know that you know their name. The coaches know that you have looked at their camp schedule or upcoming camp schedule, or you're interested in attending one of their prospect camps. Identify with contact information your high school coach, your Legion coach, anybody that's done an evaluation. For instance, if you've gone to a strength coach, you know, whether that's the company that you alluded to, a Mike Reinhold or Eric Cressy, somebody within the, you know, greater New England area that's going to have a relationship or a rapport with WPI or UMass Lowell, you know, Nick Barisi. Hey, Coach Barisi, I'm currently a student athlete at Acton Boxborough. My dad works at UMass Lowell, and therefore I have an interest in your engineering program. You are basically clearing out all the white noise to the college coach. They now see Jackson Healy. This guy is talking directly to me. He's not sending out a random email, a blanket email that's just, you know, meet in the middle and you just change the coach's name up top. Add some specifics to your communication. The other thing, call the coaches. Set up a visit. For instance, if you want them to know, Jackson, if you want them to know who you are at UMass Lowell, you schedule a visit. You call the coach and say, my parents and I are coming in. We are going to be taking a tour of the campus. We've set that up with the admissions office. We would like the ability to stop by and meet with the coaches. Okay, now you have just literally put it in their corner. They are going to email you back and say yes or no, but you've gotten your answer. There's no more gray area. Don't wait to be discovered. The number one mistake that the vast majority of parents and athletes make is they're waiting to be discovered instead of knocking on that door. But this ties in with have your evaluation in hand, whether that's from your high school coach, whether it's from your Legion coach. Ask your coaches, ask people within your community that have played at a higher level. Could you write a letter on behalf of my skill set? Give me an idea of what my weaknesses are, what my strengths are, but I can be able to communicate this with a college coach and share this with a college coach. It's no different, Jackson, in your case, you would probably ask calculus or chemistry or anything within your academic world for a letter of recommendation for your college application. You have to do the same thing with regard to your athletics. You have to have somebody that carries a certain level of respect, a level of trust, so that a college coach could say, okay, I just got a letter from, this guy, Legion coach or Walter Beede or whatever. Okay, let me give Walter a call. Hey, I got a letter here from Jackson Healy, and he said that you have seen him play. Give me an idea of where his floor and ceiling are. What type of athlete is he? What type of young man is he? What are the parents like? You want to be able to know that the people that you're putting in your corner for referrals, you're going to be proud of what they have to say. And they're going to know who you are as a person as well as an athlete. But definitely be more proactive.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Because let's see. John Boy Benoit. Okay, I got a former player in the room right now. John Boy, this is a great opportunity for me to tell you a little something. Number one, and John Boy went to a school that you'll know, Jackson, Holy Name High School in Worcester, Mass. Right? And so you have a lot of guys that are being told you won't play in college, you don't have the skill set. But somebody like, when I used to recruit athletes, I would go watch them play during the summer and I would just listen. And I would listen, and I called it listening to their heartbeat. Coaches want to hear your passion for the game. They want to hear you communicating with teammates. They want to see you in the dugout, engaged with your teammates. They don't want to see you sulking in the corner because you're 0 for 2 and everybody else, you might be winning 3-1, but you struck out 2 times. There wasn't a more excitable student athlete, a more talented student athlete than John Benoit. And he played right field, center field. He played left field. He hit top of the lineup, back of the lineup. Every time I went to go see that young man play, my eyes found him. Not because I was there to see him. He had that type of infectious personality. He was a gatherer of teammates. He was an energizer bunny. Guys like Corey Shepard, guys that I coached in college. And you don't want to be the church mouse that is in the corner worried about my statistics, my metrics. You want to be the guy that everybody comes to for energy, for encouragement. You want to be that top of the rail guy. College coaches look how you engage with teammates and how competitive you are from first pitch to last. And so when you would go and you would see, especially in Legion, Jackson, Legion is about you're playing with guys from Acton, Boxborough, Hudson High School. You're playing with a group of other high school athletes. How do you blend with these guys? You're coming together in the summer. They're not in your classrooms during the day. And so coaches want to see if you embrace the team or do you repel the team. And so really always keep that in mind when you're always somebody watching you play. Could be an umpire, could be an opposing coach. And I would always ask umpires, hey, what did you think of that Benoit kid? Man, that kid has great energy. He's got infectious energy. And that's the kind of guy I always wanted to recruit. That's really, really important. Mr. Nova, what do you got for a question down there in Tampa, Florida, where it's beautiful?
Well, first of all, I really want to thank you, Coach, for the time that you have taken with us. It's special. I mean, I've been trying to listen to every podcast that you've been having with different coaches, trying to understand what are they looking for, how do we can help our kids to be available, and then to be that kid that is gonna call their attentions, and that's the ultimate goal. Just looking for that helpful tips that they can help them out. But the main situation and kind of frustrating at the same time is like as a young kid graduating from high school right now, like competing with these 24 years old, like you mentioned, it is a little bit frustrating at times because you're trying to help them out, but like you said, you hitting the brick wall, and that's kind of like the biggest thing.
Well, I always tell parents like this, and I always really encourage, and Danielle, I want you to understand our boys in today's world. It used to be college baseball was pastoral. It was very like there wasn't the focus or attention on it. And then now's the industry, I guess that's it, the business, the industry of college athletics. Baseball is really at the forefront, up there with basketball. Especially during the late spring and early summer.
Mhm.
Think about it as it used to be a community dirt road where you didn't need a crosswalk, you didn't need a traffic light to tell you when you could cross the street. Now it's like a 4-lane highway, and the boys can see across the street where they want to go. And when you are a parent and you're especially of a 17 to say 18-year-old high school senior, you look across the street and you see the Ferraris and the Mustangs and the Corvettes, and they're going really, really fast, and they have really big, strong, powerful engines. We have to let our children understand, like, okay, there's a certain level, and this goes for junior college, this goes for NAIA, this goes for NCAA Division 2 and 3. It's older, it's bigger, it's faster, it's stronger. It's not like it used to be where you could just go from Acton Boxborough to UMass Lowell and play Division 2 and kind of, walk on, or you could try out. Now it's a faster pace. It's a 4-lane highway, and guys are coming down as much as you're trying to get in. And we as parents only look to our left and our right as far as high school peers that are graduating in the class of 2025 or 2026. When in reality, we have to watch falling objects coming down from higher levels, Division 1 to Division 2, Division 2 to Division 3, Division 1 to JUCO, and so it's not this staircase like it used to be. That's why it's important to take an individual approach. You can't leave it to field level. You can't leave it to NCSA. You can't leave it up to the discretion of what used to be, because now you're fighting to find your fit, not everybody else's fit. And the other part of this equation is we have to understand sometimes we need to take a step back before we take a step forward. That's where the gap year comes into play, or the post-grad year comes into play. Widen the lens and think about, okay, what does Jackson or what does Adonis, what do they look like at 20? What is the world going to look like for them at 20 years old? It's not that far away, but if we give them time to physically, mentally mature, it levels their playing field. College athletics reward those that have a plan and that are proactive. If you have the plan and you execute, if you're proactive and you seek the right fit for your student athlete may not be the right fit for everybody else's student athlete, meaning there's great engineering programs, throughout the South that would love to get Northeast high school students to go and play and participate and be an alum of those, because obviously when you leave, whether it be Louisiana, Georgia, I could rattle off a bunch of schools, but it becomes very appealing. So they may say to Jackson, wow, we love your academics. We really want to have an alumni base in the Northeast, and we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Okay, I didn't even know you existed, but oh, by the way, Emory University in Georgia, Georgia Tech. I mean, I could rattle off a bunch of schools, but my point is, and the same thing can be true. Like you could say, well, I would never entertain going to a school in Arizona. Okay, well, they want you, but you don't know they want you. And they're going to make it appealing both financially as well as opportunities for you to be an active participant, as opposed to delaying your entry into being an active student athlete. But you won't know that unless you begin to open those doors and open those windows. So a lot of parents get stuck in a Division 1 or Division 2 or Division 3 based on what they perceive to be the status associated with it. But here's a statistic that you both need to know. Last year in the transfer portal, the NCAA transfer portal, a tad bit more than 35% found a home. That means 65% did not find any greener pastures, any golden opportunities. 65% basically had no room at the inn. So the portal is not like, I'll just get into college, I'll go into the portal and I'll get a name, image, and likeness deal. It doesn't work that way. So now is the time. It's really critical. Parents, start to lay out your parameters. Start to create your plan. Allow your student athlete to execute the plan. And that means, being proactive, finding out, okay, 5 no's, 2 maybes, 3 yes. Okay, I'm going to focus on the maybes and the yeses, eliminate the no's, maybe add a few more schools, and begin to start your process that way. The next thing to understand is financial. Like, you as parents have to understand who's paying this bill. Like, am I going to have student loans? Do I not want student loans? Those are the things that you really want to take the time. Jackson, if you had a dream school right now today, what would your dream school be? Dream school.
He sure likes the idea of the South more.
Yeah.
Lowell? That be it?
What do you say? What do you say?
Lowell. You said
Lowell?
Lowell?
UMass Lowell?
Lowell is definitely one of my, it's always been on the top of my list.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you feel that UMass Lowell is a dream school, you reach out to Coach Barisi, you mention my name, you say, Coach, here's my situation. This is the school I go to. My dad works there. I'm going to play at Legion, but I'm coming to your camp and I'm coming to one of your home games this spring. I'm going to introduce myself. Don't say my mom and dad and I are going to. Jackson, I'm coming up to the dugout. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to put a face to this email. And then after watching your game, I'm coming to your camp. You think that guy's going to remember you by the time your feet hit that campus field? He's going to know exactly who you are. He's going to know everything about you. And if he's honest with you, he's going to say, you know what, Jackson, I really loved your energy. And I checked in and I talked to your high school coach. I talked to your Legion coach. And you either A, fit, or B, you're this close and you need to do this, this, and this. Or C, you don't fit, but we loved having you at our camp. You're going to know right, wrong, or, good, bad, or indifferent whether you have a chance. But you'd rather be in the know than sitting back waiting. Am I good enough to play at UMass Lowell? That's what you want to be able to do. Take the harness. You're in the saddle. It's your horse to ride. You got to take that thing from the starting line to the finish line. Anything else that you want to talk about or discuss? Or?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
So earlier on, you said you want to do your research before communicating with schools, just in case, when they have questions for you, you're prepared. Would you recommend doing all this research before sending an initial email? Because myself, I'm finding which schools have my majors, which, like you said, geographic location, what I want to go to. And then I'm sending my emails to whatever the coach is, right? Would you recommend that approach, or would you recommend knowing a lot more about the school before I reach out to them?
I would try to do as much homework on the schools as possible, meaning the campuses in a major metropolitan city or a rural area, something that at least you can kind of envision. And now schools have online tours and all kinds of things that were never around in my day. Have an idea of where that school, what it looks like to you, what it sounds like. Look at their baseball schedule. Here's the other thing. Go onto their rosters and look at where all the athletes are from. Look, what's the average age? Like, I work with a family and I'll ask an athlete, do you know how many student athletes are upperclassmen? Nope. Do you know where their athletes are from? Nope. Okay, well, you're a middle infielder and they have 7 middle infielders that are freshmen and sophomores. Chances are they're not going to be recruiting a lot of middle infielders in 26 or 25. You want to kind of have an understanding of what that looks like. Because if you notice, okay, UMass Lowell is graduating, they have a lot of juniors and seniors in the middle. Southern New Hampshire, they got a lot of older middle infielders, right? Okay, I fit that profile. And so therefore you can talk, hey, Coach Barisi, I was looking on your roster. I see that a lot of your middle infielders are upperclassmen. I'm currently a 2026 graduate. and I feel I fit your program. In other words, if you've done some initial homework, it makes the discussion a two-way discussion as opposed to a one-way discussion. You want the coaches to know that you've done some legwork, that this is important to you. They know it's important to mom or dad, but they want to know it's important to you. So I would strongly encourage both of you in today's current landscape to really understand the strength portion of what's going to be needed to be a student athlete. Really get a firm understanding of what the metrics look like. Like ask some of the guys at UMass Lowell or WPI, hey, what is it like? What is a day in the life as a WPI student athlete? What is the day in the life at UMass Lowell? What time do you get up in the morning? How much strength training are you doing? What are you doing as a team or an individual? You want to kind of get an understanding of what a day in the life at these schools that you want to apply to. What is it like? Hey, what do you think of the coaching staff? What's the campus like? What are the professors like? The more inquisitive you are, the more the coaches are going to know that you're accountable and engaged in your process. Don't leave your process to some other adult or entity to tell you is good for you. Like if I said to you, hey, you should go to Fitchburg State, your first question is why? Right? Because I told you that you have a great coach. Well, they may have a great coach, but they might not be a good fit for you. And so just because school X has a great baseball program doesn't make it a great college experience for you. And that's why the portal is loaded with kids, because some adult at a travel team or some entity said to them, hey, you can go here. They have a roster spot for you. And that's why when you read social media posts, I'm proud to say I'm going to NCAA Division I School X. Next year, that guy's in the portal. Well, what happened? It wasn't the right fit for that young man or that family. And so you have to understand those 4 or 5 years of your life, you're going to live a lot of different experiences that are once in a lifetime. So don't rush it. Don't just try to go from A to B, from high school to college. Make sure you're ready for that college experience, physically, academically, socially. Make sure the campus fits. You want mom or dad to be there on a regular basis. If you go to Washington, D.C. and go to Georgetown, or, there's a lot of variables in between here, Acton Boxborough, and Hudson Legion, or Tampa, Florida, and, say a JUCO in Orlando. You want to know that that's going to be a good home for you. And so that, your parents are a part of it. Your experience as a college student is an enjoyable one as a collective whole. Anything else that you guys would like to know? And I think parents should understand, and Danielle, you're a real trooper, and I know JC, we've been on this thing now for 90 minutes. And this is just the, kind of the introduction, because what you guys have experienced is what a college process beginning stages should be like. It should be somebody asking you questions, and then you asking me questions, and beginning to form. It's like clay, and then you kind of have to shape that clay how you want it to be, not how a travel coach or a high school coach or any other entity, because this is your life, your future, your process, and you want it to be an affordable one. You want it to be an enjoyable one, and you want it to be a significant, meaningful with regard to your future earnings, family, all of the, and that's what the college experience is really. It's so much bigger than baseball. And I want you to understand, Jackson, that both of you, as young men, your baseball should be the key that opens up the doors to your future. It shouldn't be about the baseball. It should be baseball is nothing more than the key that's going to open up multiple doors in your life, whether it's friendships, relationships, future family, profession. Both my boys now live in Texas. I'm in Massachusetts. They met their wives while they were in college. They didn't want to be where we are, Jackson, where it's cold and miserable. They wanted to be, although in Houston they got 6 inches of snow, so haha. But this process is your process. It's not my process. And that's the number one takeaway. Don't leave this in the hands of somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart. Mom and dad have your best interest. But just because school X has the ability for you to play baseball doesn't mean that some guy is not going to parachute in from another school, takes your spot. You went there to play baseball. Now you can't play baseball and you're miserable. That's kind of not where you want to be. But both of you have exciting futures. The sport of baseball will allow you to have tremendous quality of life over the next 4 or 5 years. Take full advantage of that. Make sure baseball is altering your future for the better, because for 99% of us at the college, you will not play organized baseball, beyond that. So you have a window of like 5, 6 years that you really want to maximize. And if I can help either of you, I'm going to, Mr. Nova, Adonis, you should definitely be considering a gap year. Gain some size, gain some strength. 150 pounds and 17 years old is going to be very challenging for you to find a roster spot at a JUCO. You'll find a developmental team or a JV team, but be patient and allow your body to grow. But by the way, you're probably the most desired position in all of baseball, left-handed pitching. You don't have to throw hard, you just have to collect outs. Jackson, a 1350 or a 1400 SAT is going to open up a lot of academic money. I would really, if you believe you have athletic ability to play Division I baseball, I can't speak to that now because I haven't seen you play, but a year at a school like a Winchendon or an Exeter, heck, Exeter's kind of in your backyard, is going to definitely put you in play at a UMass Lowell because of your grades, your transcript. It's going to be affordable, and it's going to allow you to physically mature and get, on a level playing field at, with regard to the athletes at that level. Don't worry about, you're not missing anything. You're not being left behind, which is what most parents worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other questions that I can answer for you?
I think we have a lot of good leads to get started on next steps. So thank you so much for
You're
this.
very welcome. That's kind of how you want to be. Now, you both, just want to make sure, JC, Danielle, you both now have a blue book. You have a membership into all my courses. Those are all available to you. You have, this is not just the one and done. Like, you both now have access to me. So you can call, send me messages. I'll be forwarding you my email address, my cell phone number. So your entire process, you just reach out to me. I'll point you in the right direction. I'll make sure that you check off all your, your boxes, cross your T's, dot your I's. But this entire process, from beginning to end, you now have access to me, from the Blue Book, basically. So take full advantage of that, and you just let me know your schedules. I'll point you in the right direction. Strength conditioning, nutrition, mental performance coaches, all the stuff that you'll need over the next 18 to 24 months, including post-grad opportunities or gap year opportunities. But just reach out to me whenever you have a question.
So grateful.
Coach,
thank you so much, Coach.
You're very,
Thank you very
welcome.
much, Coach. Appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. And one of the things that I want parents to know is, if you've made it this far, A, thank you. B, this is something that we are going to spend a lot more time on. Blue Book is going to offer those evaluations, offer the memberships. The membership is going to be $60 a month for everything that we've just done here. And you're going to have direct access to the webinars a couple times a month, similar to this. You're going to have direct access to coaches, performance coaches, academic coaches. You're going to also have access to the courses. So take advantage of that. It's all on CoachBeede.com. So Danielle Jackson, thank you very much. Go Acton, Boxborough, go Pepperell. And JC and Adonis, thank you very much. Now I'm with you every step of the way. You guys just have to reach out and let me know what your next steps are, and I'll help you in any way I can.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. And parents, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday in some capacity. This Thursday, Nevada head coach, one of the best head coaches in all of college baseball. Coach McKinley is one of those guys. He has an infectious personality. I can't wait to talk to him, and I hope you as a parent take some time to learn a little bit about the schools out on the West Coast. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to talking with everybody next Tuesday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.